find your way to a comfortable seated position. And you can sit in Sukhasana, or you can sit in lotus pose or half lotus pose. Try it out. And I listened to something. I listened to a lecture, Rudolf Steiner lecture, and it sounds like he was live. It was some other guy reading it. But he was talking about how all of these Buddha positions are part of why they're so potent is because we don't happen into them accidentally, which I thought was pretty cool. To get a little like background of like why all the Buddhas are sitting in this like complicated cross-legged position. Not only does it show how open your hips are, but that it's lifting the practitioner up from just our base nature, where we've put intention and will already into how we're sitting. So close your eyes and wiggle your spine long, maybe shrug your shoulders a couple of times or roll them back. And before we do anything, just take a couple moments internally to dedicate your practice to someone who needs a little bit more love or generosity or more light. And then we're going to start by opening up with 3 ohms. Bring your hands to heart center. Feel your thumbs against your breastbone, just bone. Let your shoulders be heavy. Empty your breath. And let's inhale together through the nose. And then relax your hands down onto your knees. Take a full, unhurried breath. And stretch your legs out. We're going to start with butterfly. So take your legs to where, like as wide as you can. You can always keep a small bend in your knees if you need to, or put pillows underneath your knees to cushion it. And then start by taking your hands behind you and with a straight spine, start to hinge forward, letting your hands drag so you're not just flopping onto the floor. And if you can keep a straight spine, you can bring your hands in front of you and slide your hands further out. When your spine starts to resist or starts to curve, that's where you're going to soften and drop your head. So some of us can lie all the way on the floor. Other people are going to be somewhere in between. Take a full inhale, and with your exhale, just sigh out. So we're coming into dragonfly, and we're doing some yin poses first. So remind yourself that you want to, of course, honor where your physical body is at today. Going just to where your body starts to feel resistance, not forcing anything into places of sharp pain. And then allow your posture to become as soft as possible. So your tongue can be relaxed, your jaw is relaxed, letting your shoulders be soft, letting gravity pull at you, letting the heaviness be the emphasis rather than trying to contract and move away from it. And then make that inner shift to staying in the pose, to committing to stay in the posture. I'm going to start today by reading a verse that was written down in Orland Bishop's book, The Seventh Shrine. And this verse is anonymous. I am black as the night from which the light of a new day descends. I am past, present, and future. I am the anointed of heaven. I am what I am. I am the blended colors of life that light the bridge into the new age. I am seed, plant, and flower. I am the anointed of earth. I am that I am. It's so kind of on point right now for what's going on astrologically in the skies, what shifts we're moving through. But I'm going to read it again. I am black as the night from which the light of a new day descends. I am past, present, and future. I am the anointed of heaven. I am what I am. I am the blended colors of life that light the bridge into the new age. I am seed, plant, and flower. I am the anointed of earth. I am that I am. So astrologically, we have the sun in Capricorn for a couple more days. And on the 20th of January, oh, no, I guess that's maybe the 19th. But basically, it's so cool because, you know, I don't know if you guys hang out with astrologers, but all these astrologers are talking about Pluto going into Aquarius, and it's been in Capricorn since 2008. And it's going to be in Aquarius for about 20 years. So it's a big shift. But before I tell you what's so kind of cool about it, I'm going to lead you out of the pose. So help yourself up. And you can move your legs around, come up onto all fours just to transition. And we're going to come into dragon pose. So let's do a slightly different variation today. Sabine, who was here with me on Tuesday, we're going to not let our knee drop out to the side. Instead, you're going to keep your knee over your ankle and then stretch back through your left foot and either stay up on your hands or maybe you can let your elbows drop down, but you don't want to let your knee fall out dramatically today. So it's a very active yin pose. You know, the dragon does spit fire. And I'm looking at the clock. I'll make sure to have to be able to see the clock. I was looking at the bottom of the clock, but now I'm looking at the face of the clock so that we don't stay here too long. But see how much you can soften and relax, even if there are some fiery parts of it. And part of why I think that verse was so appropriate for this time is because right now, as the sun moves to the final degrees of Capricorn, what happens is right before Pluto enters into Aquarius, like minute before basically, the sun and Pluto are exact in their conjunction, and they become exact at 29 degrees 59 minutes of Capricorn before Pluto enters right into Aquarius. So you can nearly have this picture as the sun and Pluto holding hands and moving into Aquarius. And then start to lift yourself up. And we're going to hinge back. So we're coming into, this is often the splits preparation. So you're on your left knee. You let your right foot lift up, gently pulling your right hip back, and then bow your head down towards your knee. So again, it's not your normal yin pose, but feel where you can soften, where you can allow the gentleness in. So whenever the sun conjuncts with any planet, and conjuncts means that they're so close together that they are acting like one. In relationship to the Earth, they're close together. They don't actually get so close that they become one planet. Not yet, at least. But when the sun conjuncts with any planet, or where we find the sun in our natal charts, is where we have like creative solar power. It's where we're lit up. And then bring your right foot down so you can shift your weight forward and bring your right knee next to your left knee and switch legs, moving into dragon on the left-hand side. So you step your left foot about level with your left hand to the outside. You can see better now. And stretch back through your right knee. If it's appropriate for you, you can come down to your elbows. If it's not, you can just shift your hands a little further forward to get a little lower. But you want to keep your knee over your left ankle, feeling the stretch in the belly of your right thigh and the groins muscles, and a contraction, kind of a compression in your left hip flexor. And it's kind of fun, you know, the astrology world is full of theatrics and drama and kind of like, oh my God, this amazing celestial thing is happening. And there's a lot of, I don't know what I want to say. Like, there's a lot of like attention paid to kind of the personality of things, or the nearly like feeding the fear or the anticipation of something happening. And for me, that part I find less exciting. You know, I feel like we all have to really adhere to our practices to remain kind of courageous or focused on the bigger picture of why we're here in this world. And that even the celestial bodies, as they work together with us, they don't whip us around in our life like a yo-yo. I'd be jerking us up and down. I guess that would be the actual yo-yo. All right, come a little bit away from the fire just to move into another fire. So you're going to shift your hips back, bringing your hips over your right knee, letting your left foot lift up, and then dropping and softening your head towards your left knee as you pull your left hip back. So while I don't like this kind of hype that happens, like, oh my gosh, everything's going to be different once Pluto goes into Aquarius, that on one hand it's like this like drama driven event, but on the other hand, when we know such an event is happening, how can we harness it, or how can we kind of ride the waves of what our life delivers us in a manner that honors these shifts rather than pretends that we're separate from them? And then shift your weight back to your left foot. And we're going to actually transition, bring your left knee next to your right knee. We're going to transition into saddle pose if that's an option for you. So you're going to sit on your heels in this variation, and then come down onto your elbows. And this might be as far as you go or not go. I'm going to give you an alternative if it's not there for you. Or you can lie all the way down onto the ground. So my knees pop up a little bit, but there's nothing painful in my knees around this. I feel the stretch in my thighs. If you're feeling pain in your knees, you just transition then and come in to do Sphinx pose. So it looks just like that statue in Egypt. So figure out for yourself, you don't have to like saddle pose, but if your body can be there for a couple minutes, then take that. If not, do the Sphinx. So, as I mentioned, the sun and Pluto are conjunct in the very last degrees of Capricorn. And I learned some really great stuff about Capricorn today, actually. And the first part was that, you know, in the symbology, the Capricorn is half fish, half goat. And while in reality, that is an impossible and awkward combination, in the symbolic world, it is, and I talked about this already, but it is like the picture of power and capacity. But I heard another wrinkle to the story today, which talks about how, especially in the Hellenistic ancient astrology, Capricorn was always connected to actually escaping the confines that you find yourself in and thriving. And so whether it's the goat that can, you know, climb up the highest and hardest mountain, or it's a fish that can swim away, the picture really was that the fish was more kind of the old part of it, and the trapped part of the being, and the goat was the escape artist. And so ultimately, in the development and the exaltation of Capricorn as the escape artist, then this whole picture of the final escape is actually leaving the mundane to unite with the divine. The final escape would be, and what the last couple degrees of Capricorn is referred to, is like the gateway to the gods. And then, this open secret that we're given by being gifted the story of Jesus's birth in the sign of Capricorn makes a lot more sense. So the ultimate, capacity to escape is such a key part of the story, and ultimately the story of Golgotha, the resurrection, where that is an escape from this mundane evolutionary stage to the next. So it's really like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that this Christ story is like a Houdini story, but that ultimately the resurrection, this perfecting of being able to, yeah, the resurrection body, this body that we perfect through our lifetime, that is escaping what was to come to what's new. So with the sun and Pluto in these final degrees conjunct, we're given such a beautiful picture of how we enter into Aquarius. Aquarius ruling the future and what's new, the genius. And then slowly come up one elbow at a time. Come up onto all fours and just do a slow kind of wiggle. Your back is like feeling it, noticing it. And roll around, reach around with your hips. It's like you're rolling in the sky. And then we're going to do one last yin pose before we get fiery. And we're going to take a wide knee child's pose. So generally in modern yoga, we do kind of a wide knee child's pose. So maybe I should say an extra wide knee child's pose. So your knees are perfect. Just take them as far apart as they go. And then stretch your arms forward, bring your forehead down to the ground. And letting your hips sink back towards your heels. So I love the beauty of, trying to understand these celestial movements and what how is that mirrored in my and your internal soul processes. How does Capricorn become Aquarius? What is this change that we're anticipating with Pluto moving into Aquarius? Is this intensification of Aquarius? Because wherever Pluto goes, everything gets more intense. More relevant to our soul, more connected to life and death. So while we're here in child's pose, let's start to amp up our breath a little bit, anticipating that we're going to move into a more fiery part of our practice. So the Ujjayi breath is the victorious breath. Now, Pluto is also the master of everything. So think of this breath, this fiery, intense breath. It's you constrict the back of your throat, so it's like talking like a stage whisper. So take a full inhale while you're still in child's pose, and then open your mouth, and with the exhale, fog up your yoga mat. And then inhale through your nose, and without opening your mouth, so you can have the same kind of noisy intensity, but exhale through your nose, fogging up your yoga mat. And then start to see if you can balance the inhale and the exhale in all elements. So in length, in intensity, in sound. So when we're by ourselves alone in our house, we sound a little bit like we're trying to pretend to be Darth Vader. I can encourage you also to like listen for the sound of the ocean, or maybe it sounds like people cheering for you. It's the victorious breath. But it's not how we would breathe if we were like on a first date or sitting in the office or at a parent meeting. This isn't what we're trying to do, but by adding this intensity and the sound and this rhythm to our breath, it's going to help us in our practice stay present and keep us really working at bringing breath and movement together, so we're never moving without breathing. Now slide your knees together and take your arms back behind you just for a spell. So like you're like in embryo pose. And then reach your hands forward, tuck your toes under, and with your exhale, come up into downward facing dog. And bend and straighten one leg at a time. Push your shoulders back, your hands down, feel your fingers spread out. Look at your feet. You want your feet hip distance apart. If you notice this is already intense on your hands and your wrists, feel free to bend your knees a little bit and then pull your hips further back, feeling how that helps distribute the weight better. Take another full inhale, then empty your breath all the way. Look forward and walk your feet in between your hands. And just for fun, the first halfway lift, fly your arms up. It should be fun. And then with your exhale, hug the backs of your knees, let your head drop. Release your hands and roll up one vertebrae at a time, stretch up tall. And with your exhale, come to Samastitihi, where you have your hands at heart center. Then release your hands down. And we're going to do sun salutation A. Raise your arms up, bending your knees as much as you need to. Bow forward with your exhale. This time, keep your hands on your shin or the fingertips on the floor. Inhale, halfway lift. Belly lifting away from your thighs, reaching your chest forward, looking a little bit in front of your yoga mat. And then exhale to chaturanga. So we're going to step back today and drop our knees for the first one, and then guide ourselves down chaturanga. Then inhale, lift up low cobra, toenails reaching down to the ground, chest lifting, hands light. You can even test by lifting up your hands. Then exhale, downward facing dog. So generally doing yin yoga will get you cold. Doing yang yoga will get you hot. So maybe you have to take off a layer, maybe not yet. In classic Ashtanga, you're in downward facing dog for 5 breaths.
during sun A. Take another full inhale, empty your breath all the way, come up to the balls of your feet, look forward and hop your feet in between your hands as you inhale, stretch your arms, reach your chest forward, halfway lift. Exhale, release and bow forward, letting your head drop, knees can be bent. And then inhale, roll up, stretch your arms up, look up. And with your exhale, bring your hands to heart center, Samastitihi, dropping your hands down at the end of your inhale. Again, Sun A, inhale your arms up. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway lift, engage your abdominals. And then this time, step back to plank. Now, yogi's choice, you can always drop your knees if you want. Shift forward and lower down, chaturanga. Stretch your toes, lift up, upward facing dog or low cobra, which one suits your back. Then exhale, downward facing dog. Take another full inhale, empty your breath all the way, look forward, and then lightly hop your feet in between your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release and bow down. Push down with your feet, roll up, rise up, stretch up. Exhale, samasti, tihi. Maybe encouraging your smile. Inhale, sun A, one more time, last time. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, halfway lift. This time, see if maybe you can jump back to chaturanga. Then inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra. Then exhale, downward facing dog. Jump forward and inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release and bow down. Let your head drop, your spine is soft. Root down to rise up, stretch up tall, look up. Exhale, samastitihi. Now inhale, bend your knees, drop your booty, lift up your arms, Utkatasana. And then exhale, one breath. Inhale, halfway lift. Your vinyasa, so either jump or step, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot to your right thumb, plant your left heel, rise up, warrior one. And then right back where we came from. Exhale, come back, chaturanga. You got it, Susan, beautiful. Inhale, up, lift your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog, lift your butt. Step your left foot forward, rise up, warrior one. Exhale, takes you back, chaturanga, with or without your knees. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. 5 breaths. Take a full inhale, empty your breath, look forward, and then hop your feet in between your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release and bow down. Let your head drop. Keep your knees bent. Inhale. Utkatasana. Exhale, Samastiti. One more time. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog or low cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward, rise up. Warrior one. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your left foot forward, rise up. Warrior one. Exhale brings you back. Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now drop your knees to the ground. Take your knees wide, stretch your hips back into child's pose. If you don't need child's pose and instead you need handstand play, you're always welcome to do that. So when I was doing, I had a little time where I did some Russian kettlebell training. And the key was that even resting in between things doesn't take away from the power of doing the things. So this is not classically, you don't have a rest in Ashtanga. But as I said, I want this class to be part of building up to a fuller, longer Ashtanga practice. Now stretch out your fingers, tuck your toes under with your exhale, lift up, downward facing dog. Take a full inhale, empty your breath all the way, and then float your feet in between your hands. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release and bow down. Bend your knees, drop your butt. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, Samastiti. Now jump out so that your feet are hip distance apart or a little bit wider. And then inhale, look up, holding onto your hips, and with your exhale, hinge forward, and then release your hands and take your thumbs and one thumb and first two fingers to your toes, and then pull with your arms, elbows bend, and then pull back towards your calves. Halfway lift on your inhale, and with your exhale, soften your spine, pulling with your arms, lifting your belly button up. Now inhale, halfway lift, and shift your hands so that you're sliding your hands totally underneath your feet. Yep, so if your toes aren't touching the creases of your wrists, wiggle your feet a little bit closer, your toes a little closer to your wrists. Inhale, halfway lift, exhale, release, and bow down. Don't be shy, you're rolling your weight towards your wrists. And then step off your hands, bring your hands to your hips, empty your breath, and then inhale, rise up. Hopping your feet back together. Beautiful. Now take a big step out to your right. And you're going to pigeon your left toes in. And you're going to stretch your right toes to the back of your yoga mat. And then stretch your arms out and pull your right hip underneath your left hip as you extend and reach your right arm as far as you can. And then release your hand down, taking your peace fingers and your thumb to your big toe. Classic Ashtanga. If you don't reach your big toe, you can always put your hand on your shin, or you can use a block and put your hand on a block behind your calf. But find the right place for you, and then see that you can engage your thighs, lifting up your thighs, dropping your ribs,
Shoulders move away from your ears. Eventually bring your chin towards your chest and then take your gaze up to the ceiling. Inhale, lift up and switch your feet. So your left toes point to the front of your yoga mat. Pigeon toe your right toes in. Pull out over your left leg and then hinge coming into Trikonasana. So when you have your peace fingers and your thumbs on your big toe, you're actually pushing down with the ball of your foot, but you're pulling with your arm. So it's helping the upward motion of this pose. And then inhale, lift up. And we're going to switch our feet again. And we're going to go for reversed. No, sorry. We're going to go for twisted triangle. So you're going to take your left hand. I'm going to reach your left hand to your right hip. Sorry, your right shin. I got this. And your right hand goes to your right hip. All right. And then pull your chest over your right leg. And with your exhale, start to spin your rib cage to your right. And if it's okay for you, you can stretch your right arm up, pushing down with your left hand. And then inhale, lift up, and you're going to windmill your hands coming to the opposite side. So your right toes pigeon in, your left point straight forward to the top of your mat. Take your right hand to your left shin, and then take your left hand to your left hip, pull your left hip back, twist your rib cage to your left, and then maybe stretch your left arm up. Inhale up to center and then hop back, top of your yoga mat. Samasti. Relax your arms down. And then step out to your right. Again, starts off the same way. Spin your right toes to the back of your yoga mat. Pigeon toe your left toes in. And then lunge deeply. And either we're going for extended side angle. So you can either bring your right elbow onto your knee, like I'm going to today, or you can put your right hand behind your right leg, right down in front of your right foot. But I like to have my elbow, my shoulder at first. Feel what feels right for your body. Feel your shoulders moving down your spine. You have a straight line from your middle finger to the outside edge of your left foot. Remind yourself to breathe like Darth Vader. Woohoo, the new sexy. And then inhale up to center and switch feet. Stretch your left toes to point to the top of your yoga mat. Pigeon toe your right toes in. Lunge deeply so you're touching warrior two. And then you're going to bring your left elbow, if you're taking that variation, onto your left knee. And you want to feel that you're quite light with the elbow. It's more as a guide. Allow yourself to breathe. Feel what it feels like to breathe in this position. Engaging, contracting the back of your throat so it's a noisy breath still. Push down your left foot to rise up. And this time switch your feet and we're going into the twist variation. So you're going to bring your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. Again, I'm going to take my hands to prayer. Now, if this is too intense for you, you can lift up your back heel. Otherwise, keep your back heel planted. Inhale, come up to center, and then switch your feet. Left toes point to the top, bend your knee, and twist, bringing your right elbow to the outside, pushing down on your bottom hand if your hands are in prayer. Inhale up to center, and then hop back to the top of your yoga mat. Inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, bow down. Inhale, halfway lift. Walk or float. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And jump your feet in between your hands and raise your arms up. Utkatasana. Find the weight in your heels. Sitting your hips low. Engaging your root lock. Take another full inhale. And with your exhale, bow forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Walk or float. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot forward. Rise up, warrior one. Now keep your arms as they are. Straighten your legs and switch your legs coming to warrior one, opposite direction. Back heels planted. Lunging deeper on your left knee. Now staying to the left on your exhale, open up warrior two. And then switch sides. Take another full inhale. With your exhale, windmill your hands, lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full inhale, empty your breath all the way, look forward, and then jump your feet either through or forward and sit down. And we're gonna do boat pose. So pull your belly to your spine, lift up your thighs, holding onto your thighs. You can keep your knees bent, or you can stretch your legs long, but see if you can reach your arms forward, reaching through your fingers, lift up your heart, pull your belly in, engage your bandhas. And then today we're just doing one, not the 5 that come later in the series. Slowly lower yourself down to the ground. Take a full inhale. And sigh out your exhale. And then slide your heels close enough that your middle fingers can touch the back of your heels. Bring your toes in a little bit more narrow than your hips. And roll your hips up to the sky, coming into bridge pose. I'm sorry, I meant wheel. But Sabine, if you're
just this is your third class today or something, feel free to go straight into bridge. And with your exhale, roll down one vertebrae at a time. Slide your feet halfway down your yoga mat and just sashay your knees side to side. And then hug your knees in and roll back and forth on your spine. Probably about 3 or 4 times, and then roll up into a seated position. Bring your legs into lotus or half lotus or easy pose. So the first step is you just have your right leg in front of your left leg in Sukhasana, easy pose. Then you might be able to get one leg up, but eventually get both legs up. And grab opposite elbows behind you. Unless you're very flexible and you can grab both of your big toes. So your right hand grabs your right toe, your left hand grabs your left toe. And then bow forward. With your inhale, lift up and bring your hands onto your knees, palms facing up, and then bring your thumbs and your index fingers to touch. And we're going to take a couple breaths here. Most likely you can reconnect with your Ujjayi breath. And then in the final posture, we're just going to hold it today for 5 breaths, but do the best you can. Eventually, we'll hold it for 10. But if you're in full lotus, know that it's easier to lift your legs off the floor. If you're not in full lotus, just work on lifting up your hips, okay? So you're going to push down with your hands and lift up for 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then cross your ankles, roll over your crossed ankles for one final vinyasa. Lower down chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a full inhale, empty your breath all the way, and then jump your feet through and come relaxing down on your back into Shavasana. Palms open, eyes closed. Let everything be soft. The only thing you're keeping mastery of is your capacity to stay in the moment, stay in the room with your attention, stay in your body.
All right, invite your breath back. Maybe wiggle your fingers and your toes. With your next inhale, stretch your body long. With your exhale, curl into a ball. Hug your knees in, rolling onto your side. And then help yourself up into a comfortable seated position. And we're going to do one final Om to close our class. So bring your hands to heart center. Close your eyes. Just take a moment. Maybe you dedicated your class to someone. Lift up an image of them. Otherwise, let's just bring peace into this moment. And let's close with one final Om. Empty your breath. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Bring your prayer hands to your third eye. Invite the divine light. And as we bow forward, together we say, Namaste. And so much love. Make some noise. Woo! Yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you had a good practice, and I look forward to seeing you soon.